I'm gonna go over my thoughts of my Honda CRF300L on the highway while riding on the highway. Just go over some information why I think it's good on highway, why I think it's bad on highway, kind of overall what I rate it. Coming from a Honda Shadow Phantom 750 Cruiser to this, kind of have a good perspective in other bikes I've rated about what it's like riding on the highway. So let's go over this. First off, obviously this is not a Honda Goldwing. It is not meant to be a highway warrior. With that being said though, it does have a 6th gear, which is really nice when you're riding on the highway. I've taken this on the highway many times, including right now. I actually rode it all the way up to Big Bear, California from Santa Monica with luggage on the back, and it did just fine. I will say I'm usually hanging in the closer right 2 lanes because I like to keep it right around 65. I don't really want to push it past that. It can go, but it can go up to like 85, and people have gotten it higher, but I like to hold it right at the sweet spot of 65, maybe 70, somewhere in there, depending on how fast everyone else is traveling. With that as well, the tires you choose is going to be a very big component on how this feels on the highway. I have some pretty serious knobbies on this right now. I have the Tusk D Sports, and one thing I noticed with those, opposed to when I had road tires on this, because the guy I bought it from sold me this with road tires on it, is anytime there's a little crack or groove in the road on the highway, at anything over like 45, 50, your tires like to kind of stay in that little groove with the knobbies, I've noticed. So it gives you a little shake. It's a little unsettling the first few times it happens because you just kind of feel like you're following this weird track. But it is something worth noting if you're going to be on the highway with this. Also, I thought would be a lot less comfy on the highway because the seats, you know, it's a dual sport seat. It's not meant to cradle your ass and show you a good time. It's meant to, you know, be able to stand in the saddle position, stand straddling the bike, pinching the tank with your knees. But I noticed if I'm riding this for like an hour at a time on the highway, it's really not that bad. Now after an hour, I will say my butt starts to hurt. Pause. I will say my butt starts to hurt after about an hour of riding this on the highway, but up until that point, I do pretty well on it. I wouldn't, like I said, get this to be like, I'm gonna go ride the highway all the time, but if you're doing little trips or part of your commute is on the highway for 30, 40 miles, it's definitely doable. And I don't think it'd be that bad, because I know a lot of people look at these bikes for commuters. Now, the wind with this is, there's nothing protecting me right here, as you can see. So you're feeling every bit of wind on this, and it's moving you around, and it is a lighter bike. So if it's a windy day out or big semis go by it, you can feel it. It'll shake you around a little bit. And it's definitely noticeable compared to other bikes I've been on where they weigh 500, 600 pounds, and you're pretty planted to the ground regardless. So you gotta be careful on high windy days, or if you got a lot of semis by or whatever, or crosswind, because you'll definitely feel it. It'll definitely move you around. One of the good things about this too is with the seat height being higher, you can see over most of the cars. I don't know if you can tell by the camera because it's a little at my chin level, but I can see over the car in front of me and the next few cars very easily, so you can kind of see what's coming. No real surprises there. My old bike sat really low, so I couldn't see over cars when I got behind them or was riding on the road very much. As far as power goes, if you're in 5th and 6th gear, you can't like fly by somebody, but at least for myself, I'm about 161 pounds. I can get this bike going and pass people and get up to speed and kind of make little jumps. Now I'd say after about 70, 75, those jumps are pretty insignificant, like you're just kind of going a little faster. So that is something to consider, but anything before that, if you're downshifting and stuff, you usually do pretty well. Now obviously when you're on the highway, or if you're doing traveling or like big trips, people do it, but this would be a really rough bike to do it on. You got no luggage systems or bags on it. I mean, you can add stuff to it, and I see people do it all the time, but it's obviously not a bagger, and it's obviously not meant to haul a bunch of stuff. When I was traveling on this to Big Bear, I had a backpack on, and then I also had a big, I think it's a 44-liter duffel bag strapped onto the back rack and back seat for extra space, and you could definitely tell it was on the bike back there. When you turned, and the suspension was a little bit more squished down from the weight. Wasn't bad, but definitely could notice it. Now, I wouldn't typically cover this because I feel like it's more of a commuter aspect, but since it's happening to me on the highway, the other thing this bike is good at, being so skinny and nimble, is lane splitting. since you aren't taking up much space, and this guy's nice enough to let me go by, if you're hitting some traffic and you're in a state that's legal, it is very, very easy to lane split, like I'm doing now, to keep moving and not sit in traffic. And then another advantage this has, but all bikes have this if you're in California, so it's not this one, but if you have a motorcycle and you're on the highway, at least if you're in California, you can go in any of the carpool lanes without a passenger and stuff. That's a fun little plus if you're on a bike. But overall, would I recommend it for a highway? In short little spurts, it's probably a 7 or 8 out of 10. Like it's very doable. Now, if you're going to be doing, like I said, long trips and really trying to stack those highway miles, it's probably more of like a 5 or 6 out of 10. And the fact it can do it, you'll get where you're going, but there's just a lot better choices out there and higher powered bikes that can have a little more maneuverability accelerating on the highway than this does. Hopefully this helped you guys out. If it did, throw me a like and hit that subscribe button. Until next time, keep on riding.